Most people in modern times have had some exposure to martial arts, usually through a type of media such as comic books, video games, or most often through movies. It's a commonly known fact that these arts have been practiced for a long time and have some sort of history behind them. Many actual practitioners of these arts will agree that the pop culture representation of them and what they practice in everyday life are two very different things. The term martial arts comes from the word martial, relating to war, and the Asian use of the word art, meaning a refined collection of skills. In modern times, however, it can also mean the literal aesthetic art with a martial flavor. The black belt. Often thought of by the uninitiated as a symbol of merit and power for a martial artist, the belt ranking system was innovated in the 1920s by judo founder Jigoro Kano as a way of organizing students in training halls. The black or first dan level was only meant to symbolize an understanding of the basics. However, in modern times, it became a cultural measuring stick for skill and almost mythologized part of the martial arts. The belt as a stamp of mastery is a very appealing idea in a fast-paced culture that desires immediate results, as opposed to a lifetime of endless study and devotion. In reality, there are more proven and empirical ways of backing up one's martial arts skills, especially in a culture where black belts can be bought and sold. These include verifiable fight records, live, unrehearsed demonstrations, a background in law enforcement, security, or military service, as well as unbiased testimonials. It's a common staple in the martial arts film genre to have the hero take on many opponents at the same time. This concept is perhaps one of the most overblown ideas that the film representation of martial arts displays. Consider that in all of these scenes, the henchmen, who always attack in the most poorly thought out of ways, never attack the hero all at once, but instead choose to come at him one at a time to demonstrate his skill. Ordinary people might watch these scenes and desire the same kind of capability, but really, no serious martial artist would actively promote the idea of fighting or defending yourself against such overwhelming and dangerous odds. There are some instances of martial artists facing many opponents in real life. However, this is usually done with consecutive bouts as a test of endurance, such as the 100-man kumite from the Kyokushin style of karate, where the practitioner will go through 100 short bouts lasting 1 to 3 minutes. A major point where reality and the media differ is the portrayal of women fighters. It is something that is spread throughout not just movies, but comic books and video games as well. Fictional women fighters are almost always presented as sexy and desirable. Even if they are presented as being capable, the element of image and sexuality is very present and much more emphasized than with male counterparts. This is demonstrated by the use of very selective camera angles, revealing costumes, and choreography and move choices that have an emphasis on displaying the body rather than doing damage. In reality, female fighters often don't have appearances that cater to the tastes of mainstream media. A largely held misconception about martial arts media is that the fight scenes are a display of actual martial arts techniques. The primary purpose of martial arts media is to entertain and not to inform audiences on how martial arts work or what can be applied. The confusion about this point has led to the idea that some of the highly staged and aesthetically pleasing moves seen in movies are a representation of the content of these arts, when actually they are the result of many hours of precise choreography and cooperation on the set of a film, as opposed to the quick, sloppy brutality of a real fight. In the early 90s, the martial arts landscape of America was changed with the introduction of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, or UFC, which has grown into a multi-million-dollar industry in recent years. The UFC is host to a sport known as mixed martial arts, also known as MMA, a type of competition where practitioners of martial arts engage in contests that allow a more diverse range of techniques than any other combat sport. The sport was initially met with backlash from media, viewers, and even politicians. One of the major criticisms about the sport was how brutal and violent it was. However, in 2 studies, one by Johns Hopkins University and the other by a major sports magazine, MMA injury rates have been statistically lower than many other contact sports, including football and boxing. At first, some members of the American martial arts community looked at MMA as a threat to traditional martial arts values and something that had no firm basis in history. However, MMA as an idea and a sport has ancestral roots dating back to the Greek practice of pankration at 684 BC, with the history of its modern incarnation stretching back to the early 1900s in Brazil, and early versions of the sport first appearing in America as far back as the 1960s. MMA has been steadily overcoming stereotypes about its fighters being brutes, and started to evolve into an excellent representation of martial arts in a sports setting, leaving only more room for its growth and development in the future. It is widely regarded amongst movie fans and martial artists alike that Bruce Lee was one of, if not the most influential figure in modern American martial arts history, particularly in the area of entertainment. The major separating factor between Bruce Lee and other martial arts actors and entertainers was that his original motivation for practicing martial arts came from practical application in real-life experience, with Lee actively teaching real self-defense throughout various points in his life, as well as authoring several texts on his approach to fighting. Unlike actors such as Jackie Chan and Jet Li, Bruce Lee was not raised in a facility that provided equipment and teachers, but instead sought out the arts out of personal interest, at first motivated by a need to protect himself in street fights as a youth gang member, later developing them into a way of life, often practicing out of his own backyard, with funds and motivation coming only from himself.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Following his death from a severe allergic reaction to a prescription medication at age 33, his legend has only grown, some of it due to exposure in movies and television series that have fictionalized events in his life, fans who have over-exaggerated his real-life abilities as well as underplaying or ignoring the contribution of other important martial artists of his time, and also wild and unfounded rumors about the cause of his death. Despite his unique image and personal style being sometimes exploited, stereotyped, and caricatured over the years, Bruce Lee had an intense cultural impact on the perception of martial arts in America and on a world scale. Considering his young death, he would have no idea the amount of influence his work would have.